Train people to be more energetically sensitive?
Yes, yes. I am sure there are many people who are either yoga instructors or meditation masters who definitely appreciate the life force energy moving through us and around us all of the time, that we can appreciate um, the the power within that we all have.
How does someone go from a learning disability to graduating from Harvard with honors? Roxanne Daleo has a story to tell. It's a story about obstacles, achievement, and giving back. Thanks to Roxanne's childhood experiences, she's focused her professional career on evidence based mind body techniques with expressive arts for awakening natural healing within. For over 25 years, Roxanne has designed and delivered mindful stress management programs to a variety of people, ranging from preschool kids to Harvard Nobel Prize winners. And today, she shares her wisdom with all of us. Please welcome Roxanne to Bump in the Road. Roxanne, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, tell us your story.
Pat, thank you. It's a privilege to be here with you. I'm very excited. Well, my story started a long time ago. My bump in the road was happening when I was in second grade. I had a learning disability, and I didn't really know much about those things at the time. What I did know was that our teacher, who thought it clever to um, separate reading groups by aptitude, named our reading groups the planes, the trains, and the boats. And she would have each group come up to the front of the room and read. Now, this was okay for most kids, but for me, I was in the midst of the biggest challenge, just learning how to read and sounding out words. So the thought of being in front of the class, um, even though it was just your reading group, was absolutely terrifying for me, and I had a lot of anxiety about that. And I devised a way to see if I could avoid going up in front of the room. So when John Corey, the boy sitting next to me, who was very smart and he was in the planes, said, "Roxanne, are you going up to read?" I'd say, "Oh, I went up already." Well, I really didn't. And it's really hard to do your think and do book if you haven't read the story. So it took me many, many years to get over that learning disability. I thank my parents for having this brilliant way of, I would say, focusing on my creative side. And the fact that my parents would always say, "Roxanne, your brain just works differently. You have a beautiful brain." Even though I was smart, I felt so dumb in those days. And you would think, well, how long could that really affect someone? It affected me many, many years into my academic life. I finally graduated with honors from Harvard, which is kind of astonishing when you think about where I was in second grade. And what it took, besides true grit, perseverance, and the ability to think out of the box and to be willing to take the time with yourself to be by yourself and for yourself in a new way. And this is one of the reasons why I am so committed to helping kids who have anxieties of all sorts to overcome their challenges, because I know that they can if given a roadmap. So the bump in the road is there, but if you have a map to get beyond it, it makes it just almost more like an adventure, as we were saying, more like an adventure.
That is so true. Nobody gives us a roadmap for any of this. What are some of the things that you do with children? How do you help them?
Well, um, as I was studying learning in the brain and child development in my master's program, I began to understand that um, IQ tests do not really measure a child's aptitude, and we are learning now that there are different parts of our capacity. Music and art, science and math are not the only measure of intelligence. And there's more credit given to children who can use their other capabilities to balance um, their intellect. More importantly, what I do is I bring their attention to their interior world, their inner life, because I think understanding that self esteem really is not derived from status, social position, or even IQ, but rather it's how you feel about yourself and the relationship that you have with yourself builds your esteem first and foremost. And that's one of the reasons why I like to concentrate with children on how they can really become more aware of their own gifts and be proud of themselves in the process. And I think, many parents have always come to me to ask, how can I help my child be happy within themselves and be successful? And I said, well, you cannot give what you do not have. The first step is for
Wow.
you yourself to tap into your own inner resources and your own relationship with yourself. And in my doctoral work, what I was studying was what makes people heal. And I really investigated cultures all around the world. And what I've discovered was that it wasn't a particular method, but rather all of the cultures pointed to uh, energy, the chi, the prana, the breath, and that life force energy is within all of us. And when we are able to appreciate that there's an interconnectedness, that the universe is out there, but it's also in here. And there's a power to that knowledge. And I think our kids need a new narrative. And that's what my work does is it uses the child's imagination to offer them a new way of thinking, a new way of seeing, a new narrative that they can speak through and to themselves. I'm going to play a little clip from one of my guided imagery audio programs to illustrate this point. Um, because what I'm uh, focusing on here is the study of Jung and his universal symbols of healing are very extremely powerful when you are looking at ways to help kids help themselves. You know, there are symbols, the mountain, uh, for one, is a very powerful image that children easily adapt to. And when you say to them, stand like a mountain or become the strength and the stability and the massiveness and the majesty of that mountain, they get it. They really get it. So this inner dialogue changes how they talk to themselves. This one audio clip that I'm going to share with you is an excerpt from a grain of sand I can make a pearl. And I think even adults need new ways of thinking sometimes, and the parents are all thrilled to be able to use these, programs in lieu of a storybook at bedtime, and they themselves get encouragement from the way that I have designed the narration using metaphor, uh, imagery, rhythm, and a rhyme. I call it cadenced guided imagery. There's a kind of rhythmic repetitive pace that is hypnotic and lulls you right into the story.
Let's listen.
Okay.
Breathe deep, breathe long. Oh, yes, breathing deep and breathing long is how you find the moment of magic, the magic of now. And now that you know purling begins with Y-O-U, now is the moment to try something new. Say to yourself, I can breathe myself happy. I can see myself happy.
That moment of now speaks to the ultimate personal adventure, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes. And I think, this is the challenge today, is that we're so busy and driven that being present, um, I mean, even just for a moment, to this present moment, is so uh, unattractive to many people. And it's hard for them to understand that that is exactly what kids are yearning for, even though many of them are now learning how to be on their devices, and that's babysitting them instead of being with their essence and the energy of their mom or dad during a, shoulder to shoulder hike or trip to the seashore. It's a more powerful way of being together. So what I learned when I was at uh, Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center, and I was the director of play therapy and creative arts, and I used to bring in, uh, a cart full of crafts for the children. And I realized that even though um, they were sick or many of them in pain, one thing that they could usually do is that they would like to draw and paint, and they loved using their creativity to get out of the imaginary uh, confines of the room and the place that they were in the hospital. And this is one of the powerful ways that you can help yourself, even as an adult, to heal the body when you shift your energy and your focus from illness to wellness, and to affirm the working parts of the body and be able to really bring your attention to what brings you joy. That shift changes internally on a cellular level what's happening. And so all I can tell you is that I was so entrenched in my research, particularly Carl Jung's work of images and symbols as powerful ways to connect with the universal mind and energy of the world, the universe. That it began a cascade of a series of guided imagery relaxation programs that I then designed and offered to the children in the hospitals. And very often I would accompany the audio with visual slide presentation that I would project onto the wall. When I worked at Children's Hospital with the bone marrow transplant patients, what I was realizing is that after a session that I would have with one of the kids, um, the nurses would report that the child's blood work would improve. And later I discovered that actually there was a physiologic as well as a psychological effect that working with the mind in this powerful way has on the body. And so they're, although they were immune suppressed because of their conditions, the the taking in of the imagery and pretending that they were in a place that was beautiful and peaceful and something they wanted to do, they were where they wanted to go, it it changed their internal system, and
It shifted their reality.
it shifted their reality, but it more importantly, it helped them heal.
Mhm.
So now, you know, we are realizing the power of energy medicine, and uh, everything that we are is basically an electrical current. And if you keep the channels open, it's like keeping the highway open of the chi, the life force energy, so that everything flows and you're better able to get your strength back. It's really a very powerful uh, narrative to give kids, because after the pandemic, they were all terrified that they were either going to die or they were going to get their parents sick and their parents might die. And they were just absolutely stricken with terror around this impossible situation. So that's what I realize, is that, you know, more than anything else, we need to um, provide our kids with ways to not only empower themselves, but tap into the inner intelligence of the body, the sovereignty, and the ability for the body to heal itself given the proper conditions.
There is so much to unpack here. I have a ton of questions.
Oh, okay.
Um, I wanna go back, to the topic of IQ a little bit,
Yep,
because to me, it seems like IQ tests are very left-brained.
you're right. And that's exactly what one of my professors, Dr. Howard Gardner, who wrote a book called Frames of Mind. These frames of mind, he compelled the standardized test organization to change these IQ tests, to expand them to include capacities beyond reading and math. And he has a whole um, group of researchers in what he calls Project Zero, and they have developed other capacities, those being art, the aesthetics, music, um, kinesthetics, that's meaning learning by doing, using your
Mhm.
hands. I was very big at that. Anytime I could learn by putting my hands on something, that would help me. I had transferable skills in terms of my proficiency was in athletics. I was a very proficient athlete and captain of the team from, you know, freshman to senior year, both in high school and college, and high scorer. And what I realized was that I could feel my brilliance on the field. And if I took that concept and I brought it into the academic world, when I was doing my training as a child development teacher, I had field work, and my field work was to go into the classroom, and I knew I was good on the field. So
Mhm.
that helped to boost my confidence and to help propel me into the hands-on of teacher training. And then years later, I became the supervisor teaching teachers how to teach and how to go in the hospital and help kids feel better, not only body, soul, you know, mentally, emotionally.
You know, you brought up the concept of presence earlier, which I think is incredibly important. And you also said you can't give what you don't have. I think most people in this world are not present. Presence takes practice. You have to work at it, and it has become an ingrained way that you do things so that when you wander off, you bring yourself back, just like meditation, really.
Yes, yes.
How do you start cultivating presence in a parent and in a family?
Well, one of the ways that I begin is with mealtime, dinner time, which has almost disappeared, unfortunately, in our culture today. But it's an important way to not only bring the family together, but stop, pause, and be present. Now, in the old days when I was growing up, my father said grace before we had, broken bread and had the meal. My mother, who was an artist, would always light candles and have flowers on the table, set a tone of peace and aesthetic beauty around us all the time. And what I do is I just offer parents a way to not add anything really extra to their schedule that's already overloaded, but rather to transform what exists and to enhance what happens at that moment, the mealtime, by number one, use a bell sound to bring everybody to the table instead of screaming your head off and yelling for your kids. The bell tone is a beautiful way to cut through the atmosphere, and the kids are attentive to it, and it tunes your ability to attend and observe. Now you're in the room together, you're all sitting there. Before you begin, light a candle. That's a visual cue to also focus and concentrate and calm. Number three, I ask the parents if they wouldn't mind putting maybe a little heart shaped stone or velvet heart shaped bean bag at the table, or a talking stick, and everyone go around and pass that item as they say, "How was your day?" And they listen to each member, and they get a turn to share what happened for them during the day. So that body, mind, spirit, multisensory, multidimensional transformation of a simple, common dinner time ritual makes a big difference.
That's huge. How often do you think people get together over dinner anymore?
Well, according to my statistics, probably if we do it 3 times a week, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I would guess that is pretty good.
Yeah, but I always aim for every day what I want them parents to do if they really do want to learn how to be present is to, let's say you've got to pick up the kids and you've got soccer practice and then you've got another kid who's got dance and da 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 da. I said, look, you're in the car. Here's what I'd like you to try. Give yourself 10 minutes early to go get the children and park the car by a waterway or in front of a forest and just bring their snack in the car and sit quietly together. Don't get out of the car, or if you want to and you have time, get out and get in nature, because nature will heal you of your propensity to be in a rush. It's nature's way to be patient and to slow down. That's the pace of nature. So connecting like that is a good way to really train your brain and reframe. I have all the time I need. All is well.
Where else is your research taking you?
Well, my research is now really diving deep into how we can raise children before they get broken, wounded, and out of control, and start in utero with the mother, energetically connecting with the child and beginning to reintroduce lullabies and communications that are sound healing vibrations from when a child is very, very young, because I think we need to begin at the beginning before children lose their aptitude for an active imagination, which is at its peak in preschool years, and they will not be rebelling. I mean, the children that I work with from preschool have absolutely no resistance when I say, "Well, I want you to talk to your toes and all the way up to your nose," and, they're all in. They're all in. They don't have any problem with that. But as we get older, we get these crazy, beliefs, and, um, some cynicism, which is, really the crippler of using the mind in a powerful way to tap into the inner energies.
What sort of feedback are you getting from the medical system regarding starting this type of training in utero?
Oh, that there's a body of work that has been going on around measuring a heart rate of the mother, uh, and being able to also pick up on the baby's heart rate, the infant, the fetus, when the mother is aggravated or upset. She automatically will stress the fetus. And so there's been a lot of work to prove the importance of the mother, that maternal child connection being more deliberate and consciously uh, practicing the presence during pregnancy.
It sounds like we need to shift our world to a much more energetically oriented, present type of engagement versus where we are now.
Well, I believe that the medicine of the future is going to be not about your physical body, your physicality, but rather about energy.
And how do you define energy?
Energy is the life force that lives in us and in every living thing. There's life force energy when I tell kids who are hyperactive, go stand over there with that tall ancient pine tree. And they do, and they say, "Hey, how can you stay so still? I can't even sit still in my chair. You've been here for eons and eons. I want to know how you do it." And they talk to the trees, and the trees give them information and insight by way of their imagination and their internal dialogue, which they're learning from me how to do. And they'll come back and report. The tree told me it's not hard. I just have to breathe, or I have to begin by counting and giving myself a minute to just count, and then I'll be fine. I mean, these are reports that they give me. I'm not making this up. It's amazing. Or the kid who's really angry and, punched his sister, and the mother is coming all upset, and I take him and I sit out in the forest with him, and I say, "I want you to find a big rock, and I want you to hold it and sit on this rock over here while you're at it." And so he does. He picks up the rock and he holds the rock. And I say, "Now, I want you to give your hard feelings to the rock, because the rock can take it. And then I want you to toss that rock as hard as you can into the deep woods or over the railing into the river brook, and get that angry feeling out of you and take it away, give it away." I do this a lot with the Audubon. I was asked to go give a talk to their uh, counselors for the summer camp, and the kids come from the inner cities. And, there were several methods such as these that I say, "Look, you're in the middle of Treasure Island. You're in a beautiful place where these kids are coming out to the green forests and the lakes, and you have an ideal opportunity to help kids reframe their emotions and give them emotional intelligence by teaching them how to handle their emotions in a way where it really transforms them from the inside out."
Can we apply this to adults?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I never give a method to a youngster that I don't share with the father and mother as well. And believe me, they grab onto it.
I can feel the power of this as you're talking. How do you define that power? I mean, it's really remarkable. I think of that rock.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a
Well,
powerful weapon.
what you're feeling is I'm a generator. I am activating your energetic biofield. We have a field of energy around us, and this invisible field of energy is palpable to children. In fact, I say to my parents, you know, your children are not listening to you, they're feeling you first and
Mm.
foremost. So when you say a word or you speak in a way that's angry or upset, they're picking up energetically the connotation behind the words. You know, even if you're not saying anything mean, I am a real stickler for teenagers and parents as well using sarcasm. And they say to me, "Oh, Johnny knows I'm only kidding." I would say things like, "How can you be so stupid? Johnny is leaving your, you know, roller skates in the hallway. You know, we're going to trip over it." And I say to them, you know, there's another way that you can say that same thing, which motivates kids rather than put them down and make them feel small. And and when you close your eyes and you feel into the energy of my words, how does this make you feel? Johnny, I know you're a bright boy and I'm counting on you to figure out where to put those skates. You're so smart. Let that rest. So I teach by modeling a lot, and I myself am very conscientious about the words that I choose because I feel I must inspire by the demonstration of the effect of energy first and foremost.
And all this goes back to the discussion of consciousness, because you have to be conscious in order to consciously craft the energy of your words and your message.
Exactly. And this is another reason why I sent you to. I have been awarded with the last 3 years with 3 videos that I created for the Massachusetts um, Coalition of Suicide Prevention when they asked artists to submit their entries on what helps mental health and how can we improve kids' conditions using art and nature. And these videos that I have given to you, in 2 minutes, I have crafted a way for someone to watch the video and just take it in and let it do its magic, because just listening to my voice and the sound of the music has an effect on your physiology, and it's totally deliberate and intentional. And it's one of the gifts that I was given, because remember, we're going to go back to my bump in the road. I had to sound out words that I did not know how to sound in order to learn how to read. It made me very attentive to hearing sounds and mimicking sounds. In fact, I got so good at it, hearing a sound, repeating it, or remembering the note that I played piano at 8 years old by heart. I played by ear. I couldn't read the music. So my piano teacher would play the music. I memorize it. She'd come back the next week and I would play it by ear.
After hearing it once,
Yeah.
wow.
Yep. Also, why is my hearing so acute and why have I keyed into the energy of the words as well as the world around us and how we can harness that is because when I was working with the children in the hospital, many times they were so terrified they barely would talk. And when they did, what would come through their words was their feeling, the fear, the dread, the terror. And I picked up energetically their condition and that's how I got to be, so effective in helping them and working with them because I could read between the line. I could feel between the line. I could feel them.
Can we train people to be more energetically sensitive?
Yes, yes. I am sure there are many people who are either yoga instructors or meditation masters who definitely appreciate the life force energy moving through us and around us all of the time, that we can appreciate um, the the power within that we all have.
If you could leave people with just a few thoughts in terms of gaining access to this type of incredible insight and energy, what would you tell them?
I would remind them that when you simply sit in a forest or by the ocean, just remember that the universe is inside you and you are in the universe. I will say this the way I learned it. My father often would, what, are you there? My father would
I'm
often
here.
take
Yeah.
us to the Jersey Shore, and we would go, swimming and walking together. And he would say, Roxy, you see that ocean out there? I want you to imagine just a teaspoon of that ocean and put it right into you. That's that's the God force. That's how God is. There is a sacred, beautiful holiness that is in everything around us, and it's inside you too. And that's your beautiful life force energy.